Imagine stumbling upon a fortune worth billions, hidden for centuries and waiting to be discovered. From Nazi gold trains buried in Polish mountains to pirate hoards lost beneath Caribbean waters, these 8 legendary treasures have captivated treasure hunters for generations. Some say they're myths, others have died searching for them, but one thing is certain, they're still out there, waiting. Today, we're diving into the most mysterious lost treasures that continue to elude discovery and the dark secrets surrounding their disappearance. Somewhere in the shadows of history lies a chamber so magnificent that wars were fought over it, and its very existence seems almost too extraordinary to be real. In the halls of Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, visitors once gazed upon what was rightfully called the 8th wonder of the world. The Amber Room stood as a testament to human artistry, its walls adorned with intricate amber panels that glowed like captured sunlight, backed with delicate gold leaf and mirrors that created an almost otherworldly luminescence. For over 2 centuries, this masterpiece drew admirers from across the globe, each one leaving with the sense they had witnessed something truly divine. But beauty, it seems, attracts those who would possess it by force. In 1941, as Nazi forces swept across Eastern Europe, they arrived at Catherine Palace with a singular mission. What had taken craftsmen years to create was methodically dismantled in mere hours. Panel by precious panel, the Amber Room was carefully packed away, destined for a new home in the Reich. The palace walls, once alive with golden warmth, were left bare and hollow like a body stripped of its soul. The last confirmed sighting of this treasure places it within the cold stone walls of Königsberg Castle in East Prussia. There, witnesses reported seeing the amber panels displayed in their new, temporary home. But as 1945 drew to a close and Soviet forces closed in on the city, something extraordinary happened. The Amber Room simply vanished. No trucks were seen leaving, no ships departed with suspicious cargo. It was as if the Earth itself had swallowed this $500 million wonder whole. In the decades since, investigators have followed whispers and rumors into the depths of underground bunkers, searched through bombed-out ruins, and chased leads across continents. Some believe the room lies buried beneath the rubble of Königsberg, destroyed in the very bombing that sealed the city's fate. Others insist it waits in hidden chambers, perfectly preserved, protected by those who understood its true value. Each theory seems plausible, yet each trail grows cold in the darkness. Today, as modern technology peers deeper into the Earth and researchers uncover new fragments of wartime secrets, one question haunts those who seek the truth. Is the Amber Room waiting patiently in some forgotten vault, or did the greatest artistic treasure of its age become another casualty of human ambition, lost forever to the very conflict that sought to claim it? In the shadow of Arizona's Superstition Mountains, gold worth hundreds of millions lies hidden beneath cursed stone, protected by a secret that has claimed over 600 lives. Jacob Waltz was not actually Dutch, but German, yet history would remember him as the Lost Dutchman, a man whose discovery in the 1870s would spawn one of America's most enduring and deadly mysteries. Somewhere in the jagged peaks and twisted canyons of the Superstition Mountains, Waltz had found what prospectors dream of, a mine so rich with gold that a single trip could set a man up for life. For decades, Waltz made his quiet trips into those mountains, returning with enough gold to live comfortably while keeping his secret locked away. He trusted no one with the location, speaking only in riddles about distinctive rock formations and cryptic landmarks. Even as death approached him in 1891, the old prospector remained true to his secretive nature, offering only fragmented clues from his deathbed directions that seemed to point everywhere and nowhere at once. Those tantalizing whispers of hidden wealth have drawn over 8,000 treasure hunters into the superstitions over the past century. They come armed with metal detectors, geological surveys, and modern technology, yet the mountains seem to resist their intrusion with deadly persistence. At least 600 souls have perished in these searches, some lost to the unforgiving terrain, others to circumstances that investigators struggle to explain. The Apache knew these mountains long before Waltz ever set foot on their slopes, and their legends speak of something far more sinister than difficult terrain. They tell of a curse that guards the gold, a supernatural force that ensures death, follows those who disturb what should remain buried. Modern geological surveys confirm the tantalizing possibility the rock formations and the superstitions could indeed hide gold deposits worth hundreds of millions of dollars waiting in the darkness. Yet perhaps the most chilling question isn't whether the lost Dutchman's mine exists, but whether some secrets are meant to stay buried and what price the mountains will continue to exact from those who refuse to listen to the whispers of the dead. Somewhere beneath the shifting sands of North Carolina's coast lies a fortune so vast that its discoverers spoke of hiding it where only the devil himself could retrieve it. Edward Teach carved his legend into the early 1700s with cannon fire and terror, earning the name Blackbeard as he prowled the American coastline. His towering frame, wreathed in smoke from hemp and saltpeter woven into his beard, struck fear into the hearts of merchant sailors from the Caribbean to the Carolinas. But behind the theatrical menace lay a calculating mind, one that understood the temporary nature of a pirate's life. As 1718 drew to a close, Blackbeard knew his reign was ending. British naval forces were closing in, and the golden age of piracy was beginning to fade. It was then, according to historical accounts, that he made his final, most secretive voyage along the North Carolina shore, not to plunder, but to preserve the accumulated wealth of his criminal empire. When Lieutenant Robert Maynard's blade finally ended Blackbeard's life in November of 1718, witnesses claimed the dying pirate's final words contained a cryptic reference to his greatest treasure. He spoke of riches hidden where none but Satan and I can find it, a location so remote and cunningly concealed that it would remain beyond mortal reach. For over 3 centuries, treasure hunters have combed the Carolina coastline with metal detectors, shovels, and dreams of striking gold. Small caches have surfaced over the years, scattered coins, fragments of silver, but these discoveries only serve to fuel the legend. Historical documents and local folklore suggest that Blackbeard's main hoard remains untouched, its value estimated at over $12 million in today's currency. Yet as metal detectors continue to sweep across endless stretches of sand and excavation teams probe deeper into the coastal earth, one question lingers in the salt air. Did Blackbeard choose his hiding place so well that it truly remains accessible only to forces beyond this world? Deep beneath the Polish countryside, a fortune worth billions may rest in eternal darkness, sealed away by the final desperate acts of a crumbling empire. As the winter of 1945 descended upon Nazi Germany, Soviet forces tightened their grip around the Reich's eastern territories. In those final chaotic months, Nazi officials scrambled to preserve what remained of their stolen empire. Among their most desperate acts was the alleged loading of an armored train with the fruits of their systematic plunder: stolen gold bars, priceless artwork torn from museums and private collections, and precious gems that had once adorned the necks of Europe's vanished elite. According to local accounts, this phantom locomotive made its way through the war-torn landscape toward the tunnels near Walbrzych, Poland. The region's underground labyrinth had been carved deep into the earth as part of a massive Nazi construction project. Witnesses claim to have seen the heavily guarded train disappear into the mountain's embrace in 1945, swallowed by the darkness of the tunnel system. But unlike the countless other trains that had passed through those corridors, this one never emerged on the other side. For 70 years, the legend of the gold train remained buried in whispered stories and fading memories. Then, in 2015, 2 treasure hunters stepped forward with a claim that sent shockwaves through the archaeological world. Using ground-penetrating radar, they announced they had located the missing train still resting in its underground tomb. International media descended upon the quiet Polish town, and treasure hunters from across the globe turned their attention to the mysterious tunnels. What followed was an exhaustive excavation effort that revealed the true complexity of the Nazi underground network. Teams of archaeologists and engineers uncovered evidence of elaborate bunker systems, reinforced chambers, and forgotten passages that spoke to the scale of wartime construction. Yet despite advanced technology and months of careful digging, the train itself remained elusive. The tunnels yielded their secrets reluctantly, offering tantalizing glimpses of the past, but no definitive proof of the legendary cargo. Today, experts estimate that if the train exists, its contents could be worth anywhere from $1 to $3 billion. The stolen gold reserves alone would represent a staggering fortune, but it's the artwork that truly haunts historians. Countless masterpieces that disappeared during the war, their absence leaving permanent scars in the cultural heritage of Europe. Each painting, each sculpture represents not just monetary value, but the irreplaceable creative spirit of civilizations. The tunnels near Walbersike keep their secrets well, and perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain buried. But on quiet nights, when the wind moves through the abandoned mine shafts, one might wonder, what other treasures lie waiting in the darkness, and what stories do they carry of humanity's darkest hours? Somewhere beneath the shifting sands of forgotten coastlines, or perhaps in the shadow depths of a Caribbean cave, lies a fortune that has eluded treasure hunters for over 3 centuries. William Kidd began his maritime career as a gentleman, a commissioned privateer tasked with hunting pirates in the name of the crown. But the late 1600s were treacherous times, and the line between lawman and outlaw was often as thin as morning mist over troubled waters. By 1699, Kidd himself had crossed that line, his ship's hold heavy with plundered gold, silver, and precious stones worth a king's ransom. As the authorities closed in on him that fateful year, Kidd made a desperate gamble. Before his inevitable capture, he allegedly buried portions of his vast wealth along the American coast, with Gardiner's Island serving as one confirmed location. But Gardiner's Island was likely just the beginning, a single piece in a much larger puzzle that Kidd scattered across the seas he once ruled. When Kidd finally faced the hangman's noose, only a fraction of his treasure had been recovered. The trial records speak of unaccounted wealth that would be worth millions in today's currency, riches that simply vanished into the maritime shadows. These same documents have become cryptic maps for modern treasure hunters, their faded ink holding secrets that Kidd took to his grave. Recent expeditions have turned their attention to the far reaches of Kidd's domain, the remote shores of Madagascar and the countless hidden coves of Caribbean islands where the pirate was known to have operated. Each dig, each sonar sweep, each metal detector's hopeful beep carries the possibility of unearthing not just gold, but 3 centuries of mystery. Yet one cannot help but wonder, in his final moments, did Captain Kidd smile, knowing that his greatest treasure would be the endless questions he left behind, forever pulling men into the depths of obsession, searching for riches that may be watching them from the darkness of the deep? Somewhere beneath the dense jungle canopy of a remote Pacific island lies one of history's greatest vanished fortunes, $60 million worth of colonial Peru's most sacred treasures, hidden by the very man trusted to protect them. The year was 1820, and revolution was sweeping across South America. As independence forces closed in on Lima, Spanish colonial authorities faced a desperate choice: watch centuries of accumulated wealth fall into enemy hands, or entrust it to someone who could spirit it away to safety. They chose Captain William Thompson, an Englishman commanding the merchant vessel Mary Dear, believing his foreign nationality would ensure safe passage through hostile waters. What Thompson loaded aboard his ship that fateful day defied imagination. Golden chalices and silver crosses from Lima's Grand Cathedral, precious stones that had adorned religious statues for generations, chests brimming with coins and artifacts representing the concentrated wealth of an entire colonial empire. The Spanish guards who accompanied this floating treasury had explicit orders: ensure its delivery to Mexico, where loyal forces would safeguard it until the political storms passed. But the open ocean has a way of changing men's hearts. According to the dark tale that emerged later, Thompson and his crew succumbed to temptation somewhere in the vast Pacific. The Spanish guards, those faithful protectors of Peru's sacred wealth, were allegedly murdered and thrown overboard, their bodies claimed by the endless blue depths that would soon become the graveyard of their trust. Before capture by a Spanish warship could seal his fate, Thompson made one final, calculated move. He reportedly sailed to Cocos Island, a remote speck of land off Costa Rica's coast, and buried the entire treasure in its jungle interior. When finally apprehended, Thompson claimed he alone knew the location, using this knowledge to bargain for his life. But if he ever intended to return for his buried fortune, death intervened first, taking the secret with him to the grave. Since then, Cocos Island has become a magnet for treasure hunters and dreamers. Over 300 expeditions have torn through its soil and combed its beaches, including one led by future President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself. Yet the main treasure remains as elusive as morning mist, as if the island itself conspires to guard Peru's stolen sacred wealth. Perhaps some treasures are meant to stay lost, their hiding places becoming monuments to the greed that claimed them. Or perhaps, on quiet nights when the Pacific winds whisper through the jungle canopy, Captain Thompson's secret still waits in the darkness, patient as death itself. Somewhere beneath the murky waters of the Strait of Malacca lies a fortune worth $2.6 billion, guarded by 5 centuries of silence and the ghosts of colonial ambition. In 1511, the Portuguese treasure ship Flor de la Marche cut through Asian waters heavy with more than just cargo. Her hull groaned under the weight of an empire's greed, gold torn from African mines, precious gems pried from conquered lands, and countless artifacts stripped from the fallen city of Malacca, Malaysia. This was the spoils of conquest, a floating monument to Portugal's ruthless expansion into the spice-rich territories of Southeast Asia. But the sea has always been an impartial judge of human ambition. As the Flor de la Marche navigated the treacherous waters of the Strait of Malacca, nature delivered its own verdict. A violent storm, sudden and merciless, caught the treasure-laden vessel in its grip. The ship that had carried the wealth of nations found itself at the mercy of wind and wave. When the storm passed, the Flor de la Marche had vanished beneath the surface, taking with her every golden coin, every precious stone, and every soul aboard. The sea had claimed its prize, and there it has remained, hidden for over 500 years. Modern salvage technology has pierced the depths of oceans worldwide, recovering treasures thought lost forever. Yet the Flor de la Marche continues to elude even the most sophisticated search efforts. Countless expeditions have scoured the strait, their sonar painting ghostly images of the seafloor, but the exact location of the wreck remains as mysterious as the day it disappeared. Adding another layer to this maritime enigma, political disputes between Malaysia and Portugal over ownership rights have turned the search into a diplomatic labyrinth, where even finding the treasure might not mean claiming it. Perhaps the Flor de la Marche was never meant to be found. In these waters where empires once clashed and fortunes were made and lost, does something still guard the greatest prize of all, a treasure that chose the darkness of the deep over the greed of the surface world? Deep beneath the tropical mountains of the Philippines, something glimmers in the darkness, a fortune so vast it could reshape nations, yet so elusive it has claimed more lives than it has enriched. As World War II drew to its bloody conclusion in 1945, General Tomoyuki Yamashita faced an impossible situation. The Japanese forces under his command had spent years systematically looting the treasures of Asia, gold from temples, precious artifacts from museums, and the accumulated wealth of entire civilizations. With Allied forces closing in and defeat inevitable, Yamashita allegedly orchestrated one of history's most audacious operations, the burial of this astronomical hoard throughout the Philippine archipelago. What followed was a masterpiece of wartime engineering and secrecy. Complex tunnel systems were carved deep into mountainsides, their entrances sealed and disguised. Workers who knew too much simply disappeared. The treasure they concealed defies comprehension. Estimates suggest over $100 billion in gold bullion, precious gems, and sacred religious artifacts, all swallowed by the earth and protected by elaborate booby traps that would make even modern treasure hunters think twice. Decades later, whispers began to circulate about Ferdinand Marcos, the Philippines' former president whose unexplained wealth had long puzzled observers. Accusations emerged that Marcos had secretly located and recovered portions of Yamashita's treasure, using this blood-soaked fortune to fund his regime and maintain his iron grip on power. The gold that had once fueled Japan's war machine may have found new purpose in the corridors of political corruption. Today, the hunt continues with an almost supernatural persistence. Treasure seekers arrive, clutching faded maps allegedly drawn by Japanese soldiers, following testimonies passed down through generations. They dig with modern equipment and ancient hope, but the mountains seem to guard their secrets jealously. Expeditions vanish without explanation. Others return empty-handed, their members forever changed by what they claim to have encountered in those dark tunnels. Perhaps the real treasure of Yamashita lies not in gold, but in the questions it forces us to confront. How much suffering can wealth absorb before it becomes cursed? And in the silent depths of the Philippine mountains, what else might be waiting alongside all that glittering metal? Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you found this video interesting, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.